Commander SpaceOper flicked his four-fingered hand dismissively as he observed the human fleet through the crystalline viewport of his flagship. The primitive vessels looked like rusted metal cans compared to the sleek, bioluminescent curves of the hegemony's warships. His mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among the Valkyrie. These creatures still use chemical propulsion, he chittered to his tactical officer. Their weapons barely register on our sensors. Energy output equivalent to a child's plasma torch. The human fleet, 12 destroyers and 3 cruisers, had positioned themselves in a defensive formation around Earth's orbital stations. SpaceOper had expected more resistance from a species that had managed to colonize 3 star systems, but their technology was laughably primitive. The hegemony's shields could deflect their missiles like raindrops, and their kinetic weapons moved with the speed of drifting asteroids. "Shall we commence the pacification protocol, Commander?" asked Subcaptain Threlvier, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with anticipation. "No rush," SpaceOper replied, settling into his command throne. "Let them exhaust their ammunition first. The Council enjoys recordings of primitive species' futile struggles." The human fleet opened fire as expected. Bright flashes erupted from their gun batteries, sending streams of projectiles that sparkled against the hegemony ship's energy shields. The impacts barely registered on the damage sensors, mere scratches against technology that had conquered 17 worlds. But something caught SpaceOper's attention. One of the human cruisers hung back from the formation, its hull bristling with an unusual configuration of antennae and power conduits. Strange energy readings emanated from its forward section, unlike anything in their xenobiology databases. "What is that vessel doing?" he demanded. Before Threlvier could respond, space itself seemed to tear open. A brilliant lance of superheated plasma erupted from the distant cruiser, moving faster than anything the Valkyrie had ever encountered. The beam struck the hegemony's Vanguard destroyer before its shields could adapt, punching through the hull like a needle through fabric. The destroyer's bioluminescent patterns flickered and died as atmosphere vented from massive tears in its living hull. Secondary explosions rippled along its length as critical systems failed in cascade. "Impossible," SpaceOper breathed. "What kind of weapon is it?" The human cruiser fired again. This time, the electromagnetic pulse preceded the plasma beam by nanoseconds, a signature the Valkyrie sensors had never recorded. The projectile moved at a significant fraction of light speed, its trajectory calculated with mathematical precision that their computers had to recalibrate to track. The second shot crippled another destroyer, severing its propulsion systems and leaving it spinning helplessly in the void. "Commander!" Threlvier's patches flashed urgent amber. "The humans are using magnetic acceleration technology. The projectile mass is negligible, but the velocity is." "I can see the velocity." SpaceOper's composure cracked as a third ship took critical damage. "How are they generating that much electromagnetic force?" The human cruiser, designated US Thunderbolt according to their intercepts, had become the focal point of the battle. The other human vessels formed a protective screen around it while it recharged for another shot. The Valkyrie fleet found themselves in the unprecedented position of being outgunned by a species they had dismissed as primitives. The magnetic field strength required for this weapon should be impossible for their technology level, Threlvier reported, her voice tight with disbelief. "Our ship's bioadaptive armor can't compensate for impact velocities this extreme." SpaceOper watched his remaining ships attempt evasive maneuvers, their organic hulls rippling with emergency adaptations. But the humans had already proven that their railgun could adjust its targeting faster than living tissue could evolve defenses. The fourth shot punched through his flagship's secondary hull, missing the command center by mere meters. Alarms shrieked as the bioluminescent walls flickered between distress colors. "Full retreat," SpaceOper commanded, his pride evaporating like atmosphere into vacuum. "Signal the Council. These humans, they're not as primitive as we calculated." As the surviving hegemony ships limped away from Earth's orbital space, SpaceOper stared at the Thunderbolt through his cracked viewport. The humans had laughed at the assumption that superior technology always meant superior firepower. Sometimes it just meant thinking differently about the same physics. The Council would want explanations. They would want to know how a species that still burned hydrocarbons for fuel had managed to weaponize electromagnetic fields with such devastating efficiency. SpaceOper had no answers, only respect for an enemy that had just redefined the rules of galactic warfare.